Meeting of the Wilson School Board. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Here.
Mr. Hart? Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mr. Schneider? Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
7 present, 2 absent.
Please stand for the pledge to the flag. Our first item is communication. I'm pleased to welcome our 2022-2023 student representative to the Wilson School Board, Danny Radash. Danny has attended Wilson schools since kindergarten. She has been involved in student government for all 4 years of high school and was secretary her junior year. In addition to being the student government president, Danny is also involved in Minithon, and as she is the operations captain this year, and was the school relations captain last year. She also plays for the Wilson girls tennis team and participates in the school's mental health council. She was in the high school's production of Beauty and the Beast, Curtains, and Guys and Dolls. She will be starting her senior year honors internship this week at Sodomsky and Negrini Criminal Defense Attorneys. Danny enjoys creative writing and has won local and state poetry awards. She also volunteers at the Western Berks Free Medical Clinic. We're looking forward to working with Danny this school year, and she represents her fellow students at the school board meetings. Welcome, Danny. Our second item for communications is presentation of pre-K counts program and grant. Dr. Stout?
Thank you, President Cobb. Hi, I'm Nicole Reeser-Mazer. Nice to see you again this evening. I'm the Child Care and Preschool and Early Learning Programs Coordinator, and we're excited to share some news about an opportunity to provide high-quality early childhood learning to the Wilson School District families through a pre-K counts program, and we were recently approved funds to operate 2 classrooms. So, Berks County Schools currently operate pre-K counts classrooms in Boyertown, Governor Mifflin, Brandywine Heights, Ole, and also in other districts operated through the Berks County Intermediate Unit.
And we'll actually show you the awardees for just this year, who also, oh, sorry about that. We thought we'll show those to you. There we go. Okay. I just need to be able to scroll here. Sorry.
No worries. Here, you can put that down.
There we go. Thank you very much. So those are the awardees for this year who've applied. And as Mrs. Reeser-Mazer had mentioned, you will see approval for those funds listed for Ole and Brandywine Heights along with Wilson School District for this year. Thanks, Dr. Trickett. Much appreciation. All right, so we'll continue on. So as far as why pre-K counts was something that we were even interested in, through some of the work that we've done looking at the PA Partnerships for Children, we've talked before about the importance of high-quality early learning here in Wilson. And when we did a needs assessment, we took a look at who was being served through our preschool program that we currently offer in a tuition-based model. And there were many preschool eligible children listed on the PA Partnerships website who, according to census data, could qualify for involvement in this investment in early learning. And so if we were to do that and meet all the needs in those numbers, we could actually open 15 additional classes here right in the Wilson School District. Well, we thought we would start small and look for a way to serve students who maybe potentially were finding the program that is a tuition-based program cost prohibitive. So how could we engage families of students that were unable to be part of our tuition program? So we looked at 2 of our district elementary schools, and we, again, examined that data to show that we had a school in Cornwall Terrace that has the demographic data that you see there. 40% economically disadvantaged families, 1.6% homelessness. Sorry, again, I'm advancing when I'm trying to scroll. English language learning and special education services. And all of those are identified as at-risk subgroups when we talk about students that could potentially qualify for a program. Spring Ridge also shows that demographic need with 38% economically disadvantaged. The homeless statistic is up there. 6.5% English language learners. And then our largest percentage of special education services at the elementary level. And what that meant for us is we looked to a program that Pennsylvania offers. This is a program that is really about the finances behind preschool. It is a financial program. It doesn't suggest that it's a program that dictates curriculum or any of those other pieces. It's a way for us to get money from the state that is allocated to our state for early learning. And so we have interest in how do we get money from our state to support early learning education for students that couldn't provide that through family tuition base. So we decided that we would potentially explore it. We looked into the program. It does account for 100% of costs for this program. So when we're talking about, well, what does that grant money include? The state of Pennsylvania is willing to give us $360,000, which includes all salary and benefits for the teachers, the assistants, and the management of the program. It includes supplies for everything needed. It includes nutrition service, and that's either breakfast, lunch, or breakfast snack, or snack and lunch, however we decide to break it out. And then there are also pieces in the budget that you have to propose for publication and advertisement, et cetera. So when we went to explore this, we did not think about the potential of getting that grant this year. And so the way the turnaround works is, you'll see on our timeline when we talk about that in a minute, that we had to apply by a certain date, and that was June. And we're going to take a look at how we measured interest in this whole thing. So we talked about it as a curriculum committee last spring. We had to apply by June, thinking that maybe for the 23-24 school year, we could potentially make this happen. Well, they told us at the end of July, oh, by the way, the state has funds for you. Here you go, if you're ready to use them. So once we got that communication from PDE, we were able to then say, okay, we need to find out if this community is ready for that and has interest in having children attend the program. So we told the board that we got approval of the grant dollars, and then we decided to advertise in the community to see if we really would have the interest. So you may have seen the signs put up saying, call us about free pre-kindergarten. We did not enroll anyone at this particular time. We did intakes only, which means we just measured interest. We said, can you tell us the name and would you potentially qualify, knowing that this is a program for low-income families. You have to meet certain income eligibility to even qualify to get these funds from the state. So we received these calls, we responded to them all throughout August. We did conduct some intake interviews, and that was the interest that you see there in blue. That was shared with our curriculum committee at last meeting. We did 49 intakes, which means knowing that we proposed just 2 classes of 18 students each. We have 18 and 18 that we're proposing, and we were able to do 49 intakes, placing people on a wait list at this particular time to say, we'll get back to you and let you know if our board accepts the approval of these dollars. We do have additional phone calls. Mrs. Reeser-Mazer has been making these phone calls daily for other people to be added to the wait list. And she tells me that there are about 10 emails or phone calls that she's fielding every single day. So we're here before you tonight to have you consider, knowing that these dollars are independent dollars, that they have nothing to do with the preschool program that we offer for tuition. We will continue to offer that program for tuition for families that choose that programming. This is really about dollars being offered for a very specific opportunity for children whose families are at 300% of the federal poverty level or below. And this offers the opportunity, when we think about our goals in redefining ready, right? We're talking about getting kids to be college, career, and life ready, with the emphasis in my heart on life readiness. But this is the front end. This is having them be school ready. And so this is an opportunity for us to, again, at no cost to the district, offer this to those families that could not potentially pay the tuition as it exists. Now, the question exists out there, well, what happens when the grant dollars go away? Well, when the grant dollars go away, the program has to go away. But based on our research and what we've been told by the directors of the Eastern region that provide us with this information, since 2007, that's never happened. The grant has never been shut down for those people who've been approved for dollars that choose to continue to apply for those dollars in future years. However, please know that we are clear, as are the people that we're talking to about this process. Should the grant dollars dry up, the program has to be disbanded. The program cannot exist further. So then what would happen to these people that we employ in the program? Well, based on their qualifications, and Mrs. Reeser-Mazer is happy to sit with you and talk further about the qualifications these folks need. Based on those qualifications, we would have the option of offering them other employment in the district should they want to interview, because they have the same certificate that our teachers have for pre-K through 4 availability of employment. So we could offer them the jobs, but most of the folks that I talk to that are involved with preschool have preschool in their heart, and they want to stay in preschool. And as you heard, there are many other programs around the county where they could transition should they need to do that. But we feel pretty strongly that knowing that our neighboring districts are already engaged in these processes successfully, that we too can engage in this type of process that would provide that level of school readiness for our kiddos.
Okay, so at this time, we're requesting approval from the board to accept the grant dollars to operate the pre-K counts classrooms, the 2 pre-K counts classrooms, with 18 children in each classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board at this point? Go ahead.
On the 18 each classroom, is there some magic to that number? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you.
Okay.
So is 18 a magic number? Well, we made it the magic number because that's what NACE, who's the National Association for the Education of Young Children, suggests as an appropriate number of students in a pre-K environment. So we went with the 18. There are some programs that go higher.
They operate no more than 20 per classroom.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest, because obviously there was a waiting list, and if you can increase it to 20, obviously you pick up 4 additional students. So just something to consider. I'm always reluctant to approve things as such, because in my tenure on the board, I've seen grants come and go.
Sure.
And those never went away. We kept them here at the school. So based on what you said, I feel comfortable with approving it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to say that I had the joy of standing outside of Stacy's office the day that she received this news. And it was such a mixture of pride and terror about the amount of work that had to be done in such a short amount of time. And I absolutely could not be prouder of you and your team. I think we are behind other districts in this, and I'm so glad to see that we're going to, at the very least, going to be able to touch 36 little lives and make them Bulldogs even sooner. So thank you so much for all the work. I appreciate it. You guys should be super proud of yourselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would just be curious, with the history of this grant program and moving forward, so long as those grant dollars are available, what a long-term savings would be to a district by getting children in these particular focused areas, and how that, school readiness
Yes.
is facilitated, the expenditures of extra dollars of those kids that are missing out on preschool, what in the end may be a savings to the district. So I think that's worthy discussion and data gathering moving forward, not just Wilson, but state and nationwide.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, actually, because the regional director that we've been in contact with actually offered us that data. The first class of students from the first pre-K counts in 2007 has recently graduated. So they followed those children in a cohort study to take a look at that, as compared to their peers in the state of Pennsylvania who did not attend such program. What did the data look like? So they are already tracking that for us, and they will continue to track for us. This is a very time-intensive commitment to entering data about students. So you have to enter all of their financial information, their demographic information. There's a lot of tracking that goes into the system called Pelican that is used in this particular environment. So all that data is actually available. So we're happy to take a look at what we have so far and share with the board, but additionally then track our students as well going down the road. And just one more thing, Mr. Negrini, when you were talking about long-term vision, this is a one-year grant, and you do have to reapply. However, I know that there are other districts. I happen to have a connection to Boyertown, so I asked a few questions, and it is something that can be an expansive type of opportunity should you find success with the program. So we could potentially, down the road, continue to secure grant dollars, but expand into additional classrooms, additional sizes of classrooms, and so on. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all that you have to select, but you do obviously have to each year apply for the dollars with a very strict budget. You have to detail the budget. We're working really hard with the finance office to make sure that we have all of that appropriately detailed and accounted for. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Stout.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 1.6, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. I'd like to bring Mr. Randy Williams up to the podium to recognize him for his excellence as honored by the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials. I'm going to read an excerpt from a press release, and then I'm going to ask Randy to kind of talk a little bit about the process he went through. So he'll be honored tonight and granted the status of PA Certified School Transportation Professional, which, like I said, is a certification process through PASBO. It's awarded to a school business official who meets a high personal, ethical, and professional standards which are established for their certification program. These include formal education, school business experience, and continuing education. Once attained, the certification must be renewed every 4 years through a program of professional development. So before Mr. Williams speaks, I just want to again thank the board and the community for allowing our school district to continue to have a transportation department. We're one of few districts regionally that own and operate our own fleet of buses. We've talked about this here at the public session many times. The number of vehicles that we have, the number of students that we transport, And I believe personally, through my experience working here with Randy and his team, that it is the best in the business. It's not perfect, none of our systems are, but he and his team remain professional. They focus on service and focus on getting back to parents in a very quick manner, trying to educate or to transport them safely to and from school in a timely manner. So just like to have Randy make a few remarks, then I'll come up and present you with your certificate.
Awesome, thank you. First of all, thank you to Dr. Trickett and the administration for supporting me through this process, and to the board for allowing me to go through this process. It actually is a pretty awesome feat in my mind. You look around the state, there's 501 school districts, some with their own transportation departments like us, some with contractors, and it just helps elevate the level of transportation as part of the school district. I've been doing this 31 years, and in the private sector a lot of time, but a lot of it was transportation is kind of like that side thing that as long as there's not complaints coming in, it's going well. And, you know, Wilson School District really takes a lot of pride from what I've seen in transportation, and this just helps bring myself and my team to the next step to make it a viable, important part of this school district we're all members of. So the certification itself was 48 credits. It's about 4 credits a course, give or take. The courses range from financial planning and management, budgeting, human resources, materials management, student transportation, of course, and school bus safety and operations. They were the core courses. There were a multitude of elective courses or things that had to be done. I present at PASBO's annual conference each year for the last 2 years, and also at the facility safety and transportation conferences twice a year. And all that comes and gives credits, but it's an honor to be able to stand up and be recognized by not only transportation people at these conferences. Mr. Schlossman was actually able to attend one of my presentations at last year's annual conference, but it's relative that Wilson School District is there presenting to multiple departments on matters from recruiting and hiring to transportation success. So it allows us to go nationwide from the transportation lens as well. So again, I want to thank you all for the support and allowing me to do this, and hopefully it brings a bright light on Wilson School District.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for putting in the time and effort and all in the name of the Wilson School District. We're happy to have you, and we're very proud of your accomplishments. Thank you. Mr. Maravich, do you have a general solicitor announcement?
I do not, just
Okay,
we do have one public participation, I think, on agenda, so.
Correct.
Rules of public participation. Individuals attending this meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Public comment is not question and answer, but is instead an opportunity to provide comments on matters that are or may come before the board. In particular, personnel or student matters may not be commented upon, even if the employee, parent, or student is speaking because of confidentiality laws. As it relates to questions, the superintendent may assign an administrator or may speak directly to the speaker after the meeting to attempt to answer any questions raised by the speaker. All comments must be directed to the board as a body and not to any individual. Clapping, calling out, and cheering is not permitted, nor is conversations in the audience. Individuals may not approach the board tables at any time. Individuals shall make their comments from the speaker's lectern. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll provide the 1-minute warning. Any person making any threats of violence may be removed from the meeting or may be cited by local police. The above expectations are outlined in Board Policy 903, which is embedded in board docs on the website.
Thank you, Mr. Maravich. Brian Shavinsky on 6.2 pre-K.
Good evening. I believe we should support pre-K within the district. I want to share 3 common sense reasons on why I think everyone should vote yes. 1, offering pre-K will address an area where our school district is behind compared to our neighboring districts. We all believe Wilson is and should be offering a best-in-class education. When possible, free pre-K to our community is a no-brainer. 2, it is possible. We just heard about it. We have a grant. It's backed by our tax dollars. Wilson has been selected and approved for 100% of the costs this year. Let's secure that and invest that money within our own district and offer the 2 classrooms. We understand that next year it's not a guarantee, and if that is the case, the program would sadly have to end. 3, every tax dollar spent on early education is a dollar well spent. According to a report from the Learning Policy Institute in 2019, preschool programs are often held up as savvy investments, in large part due to economic analysis signaling large returns on investment. Estimates of returns on investment in preschool range from the modest 2 for every $1 invested, when examined just for a few years after preschool, to the substantial $17 for every dollar invested when tracked through adulthood. Let's do the common sense thing and vote yes. Vote to make Wilson a best-in-class education institute. Vote to bring $360,000 back to our district, and vote to invest that money in our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The board met in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel. 2.1, approval of minutes. I'm looking for a motion to request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on August 15th, 2022.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do I have a second?
Case, second.
Mr. Case, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills, Mr. Negrini?
Motion to approve the payment of bills from the general fund in the amount of $3,553,024.16 as attached.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
So moved.
Mr. Martin, thank you. Roll call, any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Before I hand over the superintendent's report to Dr. Trickett this evening, under resignations, end of service, we had a professional employee who has recently rescinded their resignation, but after the agenda was posted, so that name is no longer on tonight's agenda. Dr. Trickett?
Thank you, President Cocker. Again, this evening I present the superintendent's report, inclusive of the personnel program recommendations. Tonight you'll see quite a few new hires. It's been 3 weeks since we were together last, and obviously the end of the summer is a busy time. Just want to publicly thank everyone for choosing to make the Wilson School District a place to work. Don't want to go through all the different names, but I'm just thankful that, people on our team and in our community are making the Wilson School District a place that people, again, choose to spend most of their waking hours. And just another plug for substitute teachers. Tonight we're presenting 4 new substitute teachers. The laws recently have shifted into the requirements that it takes to become a substitute in Pennsylvania. And if there's people out there who feel that this would be maybe a position of calling or an interest to them, I encourage you to reach out to Mr. Hahn in the HR department, as well as accessing that website for all of our current openings.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Looking for a motion to approve superintendent's report 4.1 through 4.9 as presented. Mr. Martin, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
5.1, request permission to approve a trip to Paris for about 15 honors French 4 and 5 students from March 30th to April 7th, 2023, 4 days out of school. Cost to students is $3,595. Cost to the district is 3 substitute teachers for 4 days. Students will be chaperoned by Mrs. Jamie Pearsall and others to be determined based on the number of students that attend the trip. Looking for a motion to approve item 5.1.
So moved, McGreeny.
Mr. Negrini first, thank you, and Mr. Case?
Second, sure.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Martin?
On the others to be determined, they have to go through all the clearances, correct?
Yes. Dr. Gate.
Yeah, absolutely. They would go through the same clearance and protocols that Mrs. Pearsall and other chaperones go through.
Any other discussion?
I know of a recent Wilson graduate that would love to go on this trip, come home from Vermont to be a chaperone, so just saying.
I'm sure she appreciates that plug, Mr. Negrini. Any other discussion for 5.1? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.1, under Human Resources, request approval for the proposed supplemental job description for special education instructional assistant mentor. Looking for a motion for 6.1.
Casper?
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Looking for a second.
Martin?
Mr. Martin, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Under Student Services, 7.1, request permission to contract with River Rock Academy, purchasing 8 secondary slots for the 2022-23 school year at a discounted rate of $146.07 per day for an annual cost of $216,183.60. 7.2, request permission to approve the adoption of the settlement agreement and release to directly pay the Hilltop Preparatory School an amount not to exceed $56,653 for the 2022-23 school year, including transportation, and to settle and comprise all claims raised by the parent of a special education student, and to authorize the board president and secretary to execute the agreement on behalf of the district. 7.3, request approval of the attached affiliation agreement with Eastern University to provide an educational experience for school health supervisory seminar and practicum students, pending solicitor review and approval. 7.4, request approval of the attached affiliation agreement with Alvernia University to provide an educational experience for pre-licensed occupational therapy students, pending solicitor review and approval. 7.5, request approval of the attached Caron Foundation service agreement for the Student Assistance Program for services during the 22-23 school year at a cost of $41,782 as attached. 7.6, request permission to contract with Schuylkill Valley School District for 1 special education student to attend Wilson School District for the 22-23 school year at a rate of $53,637. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 7.1 through 7.6 as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper?
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
No.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Under Technology, 8.1, request approval of a new 60-month lease agreement for multifunction copiers from Edward Business Systems to replace expiring leases at Shiloh Hills Elementary for a total cost of $194.89 per month. Looking for a motion for item 8.1.
McCray?
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second?
McGreeny, second.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 9.1, request permission to establish a student activity account for the high school golf team in the High School Students Activities Fund. 9.2, request permission to establish a student activity account for the high school boys soccer team in the High School Student Activities Fund. 9.3, request to create a class of 2026 student activity account in the High School Student Activities Fund. 9.4, request approval to transfer the driving PA Forward on-road rebate received related to the purchase of propane buses in the amount of $144,351.66 to the Capital Reserve Fund. Looking for a motion to approve finance items 9.1 through 9.4 as presented.
So moved, Negrini.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Do we have a second?
Martin?
Mr. Martin, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Under curriculum, 10.1, request approval of partnership with Yoakum Institute to have one third-grade classroom from each school participate in the Neighborhood Bridges program to be funded by grant dollars. Looking for a motion for 10.1. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Martin, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. Negrini,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Under Transportation, 11.1, request approval to purchase a new Gas Boy Islander Prime pedestal for the diesel and unleaded dispenser control from Hafer Equipment for $17,180. 11.2, request approval to purchase a 4-year GSS Gas Boy service and support at the cost of $3,216. 11.3, request approval of a revenue rideshare contract with Governor Mifflin School District for the transportation of up to 2 Governor Mifflin students to and from Capstone Academy at a rate of $174.66 per school day for the 2022-23 school year, based on actual numbers of days transported per school day. Looking for a motion to approve transportation items 11.1 through 11.3 as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Martin, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. Negrini,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Under childcare, 12.1, approve of pre-K counts program, inclusive of 2 classrooms, one at Berkshire Heights, one at Cornwall Terrace, pending receipt of grant funds from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. 12.2, request approval for the proposed job description for pre-K counts lead teacher, childcare and preschool lead teacher, pre-K counts assistant teacher, and childcare and preschool assistant teacher as attached. 12.3, request approval of the 2022-23 Parent Handbook Wilson Childcare and Early Learning as attached. Looking for a motion to approve childcare items 12.1 through 12.3 as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. I would just like to thank Dr. Stout and her team again for their efforts in continuing our amazing programs and for securing the funds for the pre-K counts program. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. Negrini,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
That brings us to our committee reports. BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Thank you, President Cocker. We met on August 24th at the East Campus, and we had an opportunity to recognize and present the Skills USA medalists with their plaques for their achievements, and the students were actually there in person to receive them. The students also had an opportunity to each share some of their experiences in Atlanta this past June. And again, I want to congratulate Grace Moyer, who was Wilson's Gold Medalist recipient for Business Management and Entrepreneurship. During our Committee of the Whole meeting, we heard from one of 6 women in BCTC's welding program who delivered a tear-jerking story about the loss of her father to suicide and how it motivated her to pursue a career in welding. She talked about the relationships that she built with the teachers in the program and their amazing ongoing support of her at BCTC. I think this speaks to the amount of emotional labor that a lot of our teachers do go through in supporting our students, in addition to all of the work that they do on a daily basis with instruction and the things that they do with our students. So it was really, there wasn't really a dry eye in the room when the student presented her story. So I just want to make a testament to the work that our teachers do in supporting our students. And we were also presented with the last year's data assessment summary. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I'm also going to be giving this with the slide deck that I'm referring to Laura to post in the minutes so people can reference some of the data. But I wanted to point out two things from the data. First is that we continue as a district to have some of the lower percentages of students who enroll at BCTC relative to the size of our district. However, I think it's important to note that Wilson is still able to offer a lot more options for our students in terms of career paths at the high school compared to a lot of the other sending districts to CTCs in general in Berks County. In addition, it's not cheap to send our students to BCTC, so the cost is also a pretty big chunk of our costs in sending an individual student to BCTC. And that cost may, in fact, go up in the next budget cycle, given that all Berks County CTCs are requesting that sending districts bear the cost of their own transportation. So that might be something to discuss for the next budget cycle. So another point from the data that I wanted to share was that BCTC continues to still lack any kind of input from parents in a lot of the surveys that they put out to get some feedback about where they might be improving in terms of the quality of the experience for the students that go to BCTC. So I just wanted to plug that out there so that more parents fill out those surveys and give their feedback in terms of what they're experiencing with the careers that are offered there. That's all my report. Our next meeting is Wednesday, September 28th.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Student Services Committee?
Yes, I do not have a report for that either, but our next meeting is tomorrow at 4.
Thank you. Dr. Kennedy, BCIU?
I do not have a report for the BCIU, but I do have one for the Curriculum Committee.
We will take it.
At the Curriculum Committee, we talked about the Neighborhood Bridges program that we are piloting with one third grade class from each of our schools. I want to note, if you Google Neighborhood Bridges, that's not the program, but it is very cool. It's actually a program where you can funnel donation to kids in need. But that's not what we're doing. Ours is much more boring. Hopefully, ours is much less boring. I don't know how to say it. That was bad. But ours is hopefully more hands-on and language arts based. It is a program that is going to address the ELA standards, using storytelling, creative writing, and theater games to develop student problem-solving and communication skills. I like it a lot because oftentimes the speaking and listening standards are ignored in lieu of the standards that can be tested on state tests. This is not in place of our language arts curriculum. It's to augment the curriculum. And the money comes from the Yoakum Institute. And again, if we like it, we keep it. If we don't, we can try it again. It's funded with grant dollars not that we got, but the Yoakum Institute got. So like I said, it'll be one third grade class. We're going to try it out, see how it goes. It looks to be very hands-on and engaging. We talked about the pre-K counts calendar. Our goal is to get the pre-K calendar to coincide with the school calendar as much as possible. Our problem this year is that the pre-K counts classes aren't going to open as early as they would have normally because we haven't gotten the grant money yet. We had, the Wilson new teachers had new teacher orientation. They got to learn all kinds of information, especially on curriculum and instruction, and got to get ready and prepared for the start of the school year. We really wanted to get the staff to know us and feel like they were coming into a family, and they even rolled out a red carpet and had the cheerleaders greet them like they were rock stars or professional athletes. All the teachers had professional learning days before our students came to school. They went to sessions that were around the strategic goals of the district. They looked very specifically at the learning environment at the elementary level and assessment of student learning at the secondary level. And the professional learning for this year is going to focus on those topics. And our next meeting is September 28th at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. Thank you. Extracurricular Committee, we have not met throughout the summer, so our next meeting is next Monday at noon in the admin building upstairs. Mr. Case, Facilities.
Thank you, President Cocker. We haven't met as a board since our August 8th meeting, we have met since our August 8th meeting, and I've reported out. And I want to mention that because our minutes are not on our website, which a community member did point out. We will be more timely about that in the future and make sure we get those out this week. In the meantime, our facilities department has been busy. They've installed some brackets and netting over the natatorium scoreboard to help prolong its life. Also, the Anflow dispensers have been received and installed throughout all the buildings, and they're being used, and there's been a lot of positive feedback from them. We have been performing a door and camera audit to get pricing to ensure safety throughout the district, and our next facilities meeting will be October 10th at 4:30 in the operations building. One other highlight that happened probably about a week after the August 8th meeting is we had a small group of folks, the administrators and the architect meet and take a look at some options for the auditorium, just so we can get a little bit more focused on what our options are, placements, costs, et cetera. So it was a great meeting. I think we took a couple of expensive options off the table or things that just weren't feasible. So I think we have some really good traction right now. The architect's going back, and they'll draw up some preliminary drawings, just some sketches, and then come back to the board for further discussions. So good progress. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. Negrini.
I don't have a report. Herbine and Company is still working with the finance office on the audit process, and once that's completed, we'll report back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
Yes. Excuse me. Not much is going on. They're still on summer break. They'll be back for 3 days, actually starting, I think, on the 13th. Don't expect much anymore this calendar year until elections are over. That's just standard procedures. So, but there is some news on the national forum. The Vice President announced on Monday that the Department of Education and the Department of National Defense have met, and they're talking about rolling out a program to the public schools to its preparatory citizen training, as well as making reserve officers training, RTC kind of format for all schools to follow. It's interesting that they came up with this because of the focus on first aid, map reading. I guess you don't have guidance anymore on Google. Also safety on road and vehicles, as well as volunteerism. It's interesting, they also said that this will be, if it goes through its continuation of the discussions, that this will all be taught by military folks. So I thought it was kind of interesting that this came out yesterday. There must be a reason for it, I don't know it, But it's kind of interesting that they want to bring these back into the public school realm, and I thought that was worthy of talking tonight. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Hart is not here this evening, but he usually does not report on Human Resources Committee, so Mrs. Troutman, Public Relations.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of items to share with you tonight. First, we had a great start to the school year. So we kicked off the year with our staff on Monday, August 22nd, with a breakfast, which was sponsored by the Wilson Education Foundation, and then a district-wide presentation of our strategic vision. Then on Tuesday, August 23rd, the Wilson Education Association co-sponsored a district-wide lunch, which was extremely well received by all in attendance. So these two events set the stage for us to welcome our students back for the new school year with a renewed excitement and vision. Our building staff has already hosted Meet the Teacher Nights in all 5 of our elementary schools and at the high school, and our middle school Meet the Teacher Nights will take place this Thursday at Southern and next Thursday at West. So we want to thank our community for the outstanding attendance at all of these events so far, and we're very, very encouraged by the excitement and enthusiasm that we're feeling in our community for the start of the new school year. Part of the strategic plan that we recently introduced includes increasing the voice of our stakeholders. So with that in mind, we will be launching a survey this week with our support staff. This anonymous survey is designed to help us evaluate and develop strategies to make the working experience for our support staff even better. We will use the results of this survey to also develop a series of focus groups where our support staff can meet in smaller groups to dig deeper into identified areas of improvement. Next, students and staff across the district will be commemorating the memory of 9/11 on Monday, September 12th. Our buildings have special activities planned, including flag ceremonies, special projects, presentations, and more. In addition, members of Wilson's JRRTC will be participating in the 9/11 Bulldog Stair Climb, where they will be climbing the equivalent of the 110 stories of the World Trade Center. They'll be raising money for the National Fallen Fire Foundation to honor the heroes of 9/11, and this event will take place on Sunday, September 18th in Gursky Stadium. Also, last week, we emailed out the first edition of the 2022-2023 Bulldog Blitz. We will continue to send the Blitz every week through the end of the school year, so families who do not currently receive the Blitz but would like to sign up can do so on the Public Relations page on our district website. And finally, I wanted to share a bit of Wilson good news. Youth Volunteer Corps of Reading has recently recognized Wilson High School graduate Maddie Freitas with its first annual Youth of the Year award. You guys may remember Maddie. She's actually presented in front of the board numerous times, so we're super proud of her. This award is given to one student who has shown exemplary leadership skills, has advanced the mission of YVCR through volunteerism and the development of creative YVCR projects, and has the highest level of volunteer commitment recorded in the program year. Throughout this past program year, Maddie amassed over 175 hours of service to our community. Pretty amazing. Maddie's currently attending Elizabethtown College, majoring in public relations, which I love, as part of the National Stamp Scholar, which is a full tuition scholarship program built on the pillars of service, leadership, scholarship, and innovation. Maddie was given the Youth of the Year award at the annual Youth Volunteer Corps of Reading Awards ceremony in early August. You can read more about Maddie in this week's edition of the Bulldog Blitz, actually last week's edition of the Bulldog Blitz, and also in the recent article that was published about her in the Reading Eagle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
Thank you. A lot is going on at the Education Foundation. So this is sort of the time of year that there's a couple celebrations going on. There's a lot to celebrate. So from a BASH perspective, BASH tickets are still on sale. It's not too late. There's flyers all over the place, QR codes to be scanned. I'll put the stuff out front. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. But a lot to celebrate. There's going to be a 2022 Legacy Award presented to Mr. Robert Chappell. There's also going to be Teachers of the Year honored, Ken Kirshner from Southern Middle School and Vicki Taylor from the Wilson High School. So it's a really exciting time. It's going to be a great bash. There's going to be food and spirits, live music by Mike Noecker, online art auction. That's actually some of this art. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Let me actually skip right to that. So I'm going to go right into it. The Wilson Education Foundation is celebrating the arts at Wilson School District. The BASH online silent auction is now open for bidding. It's actually open right now for bidding. Some of the artwork and other items are on display in the Grandview Gallery as we look upon it. around the room tonight if you want to take a look. This year, the auction is unique. It's featuring artwork and handmade pieces. Many of the creations were donated by the Wilson School District staff members and former Wilson students to celebrate Mr. Robert Chappell, our 2022 Legacy Award recipient. He will be honored next Saturday, September 17th at the Bash event. There are various Wilson experiences and other items to bid on as well. You can scan the QR code on the flyer posted in the lobby, and information will be also on social media and going out in the Blitz. For the public, there will be an auction preview party next Friday, September 16th in the Grandview Gallery from 4 to 7 p.m. It's free admission, and Mr. Chappell will be in attendance. So you can check out all the auction items in person. So it's something mixing up a little bit this year. It's a great thing. And as I always mention, sometimes mention, the Wilson Education Foundation positively impacts students' lives by supporting the Wilson School District in 3 areas: student experience, teaching excellence, and community engagement. And the great part about the Education Foundation is that it doesn't use tax funds. It is all through donations. So it's a great opportunity to go out and donate to a good cause. And tickets are available. It's going to be a fun time. And a couple of other things. There's a Wilson Super Raffle. So you can win a week in Florida. $50 per ticket, $100 for 3 tickets. It's a really, really nice-looking house located in Cape Coral, Florida. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, sleeps 10 people. There's a pool, hot tub, outdoor kitchen. Travel in 2023 on a mutually agreed-upon week with the owner, and the drawing's going to be on September 19th, 2022. There's pictures of the place right here if anyone would like to take a look. All good things. Education foundations, I love how clever they are with raising money. It's a phenomenal cause. So, and then here's QR codes for the silent auction. Anyway, all good things, and I just put my notes out. The next board meeting for the Education Foundation will be this Friday, September 9th at 7:30 a.m. in this room. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
Student Outreach, Ms. Danny Radash. I will get it. Radash.
Hello, I'm really excited to speak on behalf of the student body, and the school year has been off to a great start. This past Friday, the Wilson football team beat Central Dauphin 17-10. That same day, the girls' tennis team won all of their matches against Linden Hall, and Wilson field hockey won against Boyertown. This game secured 200 career wins for their head coach, Kim Underwood. On Saturday, Wilson girls and boys water polo beat North Penn, one of their biggest competitors. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. On Friday, Minithon is hosting the annual Gold Out football game dedicated to raising money for the cause. Wear your gold and share your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Radash. Welcome to the board. We're happy to have you. Ms. Moravich, do you have anything for the group other than
I do not, just to announce that we do have
non-agenda items?
For 5 non-agenda items. I'll abbreviate this a little bit. Individuals attending the meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner. Comment is on matters that may or come before the board. The superintendent may assign an administrator or may himself speak directly to the speaker if the speaker has questions. All comments should be directed to the board as a body. Clapping, calling out, cheering, or conversations in the audience are not permitted. It's 3 minutes, and I will provide a warning at 1 minute. Anyone making threats of violence may be removed from the meeting or cited by local police. And this is included in Policy 903, which is embedded in board docs on the website.
Thank you, Mr. Moravich. First, we have Susie Harvin, School Safety.
Hello, my name is Susie Harvett. I am a grandparent of 2 children, that attend Cornwall Terrace Elementary School. I don't know if you're aware, but there has been a lot of serious issues at Berkshire Hills. a townhouse and apartment complex next to Cornwall Terrace Elementary School. On Thursday, September 1st, there was a shooting around 6:00 a.m. This included a SWAT team. I heard that there was a shooting at the same townhouse before, and nothing was ever reported in the news. There have been many shootings and stabbings at Berkshire Hills. The location of Berkshire Hills is a concern of mine, as it is directly next to Cornwall Terrace Elementary School. The kids are outside for recess, and there are many events after school. Safety is a real concern. I am realistic in that I know there is only so much the school can do to protect the children. I hope that Wilson School District has a good relationship with the Spring Township Police, and that the police keep the school district informed of these acts. From what I heard, this latest incident was not reported to the school. Is there anything the school can do to increase safety? I don't know what the answer is, but wanted to make you aware. On another topic, I know the school board has plans to renovate Southern Middle School. I've been told that there are currently 6 third-grade classrooms in the elementary school. That is a lot of classrooms. I have never been inside Cornwall Terrace, but the school doesn't seem to be that big. Instead of renovating Southern Middle School, could we expand Cornwall Terrace to the middle school and then build a new middle school on the land you are in the process of purchasing? That way, the new middle school could be built to the standards of West Middle School. Just a suggestion. I hope you will take my comments into consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Todd Shorley, Culture at West and First Experiences in a New School Year.
Hello, everyone. I don't have anything fancy to talk about today, but you heard from me at the end of the last school year. My kids were leaving Whitfield here. We had an amazing experience at Whitfield, and I have to say, I waited way too long to come and to give my appreciation to the board here for the environment in our schools. I thought it not possible to have the next experience, the next chapter in my children's lives live up to the experience they had at Whitfield. But they came to West, and I got the chance to attend the open house orientation evening that they hosted at West. And I feel like as a citizen here, you should hear the things from the teachers and the parents that you get to maybe hear in reports. And I wanted to come and report that I'm proud to say the experience at West exceeds our expectations. It's great. The kids loved it. And it's not just the teaching staff. I have to give credit to Randy and his staff as well, because from the first moment the bus driver rolled up, the woman shouted, "Hello, lovelies," out the door, and made the kids, who, my kids had never ridden a bus before, were terrified to get on the bus, just feel incredibly welcome and, like they fit in right away. So the other thing that I thought was really awesome about the school and the help that we received is, we have twins and there's different learning abilities between them. So in reaching out and getting our questions answered over the summer, the staff was really responsive in reaching out to us beforehand and making sure that we felt communicated to. So I wanted to say thank you to the teachers and to the staff and to the administration. What this really comes down to for me is the culture that is being created here in Wilson. I feel it's really powerful. I feel this is special, to say the least. And when I attended the orientation evening, I saw it on the faces of the teachers. I mean, here we are at the end of the summer, and they're giving up one of their last evenings of summer to come into the school and welcome in new students. And there was smiles, and they were joking around and laughing. And I thought, okay, well, some of this is just because the parents are here. But in interviewing my children several days later, I find out that there is a 3-way tie for favorite teacher, which tells me that that really carries forward into the classroom during the day. So this district is special, and the reason why I wanted to come up here and say this is culture that you experience early in life carries with you. When you experience good leadership, when you experience good opportunity to interact with adults in a positive way and have this communication, you take it with you, and you build a better tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Val Delp, Transparency.
Good evening. I just wanted to share an observation and make a suggestion in terms of transparency and building trust between the community, the board, and the administration. I feel like there are times when reading the agenda that some items have very little detail or explanation as to the purpose of a proposed service or contract or details on what the arrangement provides. I think sometimes that can lead to some in the community feeling like things are being purposefully hidden. I'm not sure how much you can share or can't share on the agenda. I don't know if there's legal issues with that, but I think it would help maybe ease some feelings of mistrust. I was going to point out an example, item 10.1, with the Yoakum Institute and neighborhood bridges. I do appreciate that there's been some clarification on that with the curriculum report, and I did get some additional information from an administrator on that as well. But that's just an example of how, someone could jump to conclusions, Googling that, not understanding what that's about. And I just think it would go a long way to build a little bit of trust if you just provide a little bit more information. I think most of us just want to understand, what some of these things are. So if, we could just provide a little more clarity, I think that'd be great. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Tammy Keener, Miscellaneous.
Hi, I'm Tammy Keener. As you know, I'm a disabled veteran serving my country honorably. I've been coming to you guys, and, most of the time, I leave here, and most of you have a grudge against me because, yes, I'm a veteran. Yes, I've been overseas, so I've been in other cultures. And sometimes when I speak, it seems like I'm angry. I'm not really angry. That might be my PTSD, which is kicking up, because let's face it, most of us in the military do have some kind of a ramification from that. I want to say to Mr. Case, thank you so much for the last meeting. You actually stood up for the taxpayers, and you made us feel like you're listening. You made me feel like after 11 years or 12 years of coming here, complaining about school property taxes, and you made me feel special that night because you actually stood up against everyone else on the board, with the exception of Mike, he wasn't here, to cut costs. I want to thank Jim Simcox. You have been a blessing to the school. You've cut many costs for us taxpayers out there, and I am blessed for your service for our school. I do want to speak a little bit about the grants. I do have a double bachelor's degree in accounting and finance, as you know. The grants are not reoccurring. I don't care how much you tell me that they are. They're not. That's money that us taxpayers eventually are going to have to dig in our pockets for to help you guys spend. We don't need a pre-K. What, do you want to take them from the womb yet, too? First grade or kindergarten is enough. Let our parents raise our children the way we want to. Stop interfering with the society of how it's supposed to be done. The family, the mother, the father, the children, the kids, the animals. It's a family atmosphere. We need to give that responsibility back to the
1 minute.
parents. We also need to clean up our curriculum. Our curriculum stinks. You want to get pre-K in here, and we can't graduate a full class every year. Every year I come here, and we're making a big deal about 5 or 6 kids that didn't graduate in spring like everybody else, but they had to go to summer school. I don't know, when I went to school, if you didn't pass a grade, you stayed back, and you repeated that grade. What happened? What happened to our society? Where is the discipline? Where is giving it back to our parents and letting them raise their own children? We have to stop this. And your theatrics is really up. I applaud you on your theatrics. Have a blessed evening, everyone.
Thank you for your comments. That ends our public participation. Do we have any other discussion from the board? Dr. Kennedy?
I would like to say that one of the best benefits of pre-K is higher graduation rates among pre-K participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Any other discussion from the board? Mr. Martin?
Yes, I'll be addressing this topic once, or every time we have a board meeting, but I've been really grasping with this. I had 22 days, I had a chance to do a lot of research, but I just saw the Gallup poll that just came out, and it's disappointing that only 42% of Americans trust the school system. They feel it's faltering, and that's very disappointing. And I'll go into some reasons why. But 2 million students left last year public education, and 26% of the people that were polled said they will not send their kids into a public institution. And here's the reasons why. America's classrooms have become a battleground for political discussions, measures, and equality issues over the past 3 years. 15% cited poor or outdated curriculum, not addressing current needs. 12% stated that we're constantly being outranked by foreign countries, which I have a separate thing on next meeting on that. I can go into more detail on that. 11% of schools are failing to teach basic subjects as reading, writing, math, and fundamentals. 10% expressed dissatisfaction because there's continuing political agendas being taught in schools and by teachers. And 9% stated that students are not learning basic needs for skills for graduation. So this says there's a problem in education, and there's reasons for that, many reasons for that. And I have some of those, and like I said, at each board meeting I will present a topic based on this. This just came out, I just saw this, and this had nothing to do with it. Originally I was going to say I was going to present something tonight, but I thought this was very interesting from the standpoint that the Gallup poll is a pretty legitimate poll, and it shows you that there's a problem in education, and I think we can fix it, and I'll be getting into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I wonder if when you present more information on that poll, if they made a difference between was it all parents, like current parents of students in the education system, or if it was a general poll taken for all Americans, or if there's a difference between the
I can get you that
percentages?
answer. I don't have that answer.
That's just my one.
I have another one. Typically, when they do polls like that, when you talk about the education system in general, there's more discontent. But when you ask someone about their local school, the one that their children attend, that the approval of that specific school goes way up. So I'd be curious to see how the data, if it was talking about the school system in general, which tends to be low, or if they were talking about what they felt of their own neighborhood schools in their own district. Because that research has been pretty consistent.
I don't know if I can get that, but I will see what I can do. But it's going to be, this is supports, like I said, this will support some of the things that I'll be talking about, especially when it comes to our failing against other countries. Everybody knows that. I mean, I'm not going to, we're going to debate that, but there's been a gradual slide since the 60s of our educational when we're competing with other countries, and there may be reasons for that, but we spend quite a bit on, I don't want to get into this tonight, but that's part of my discussion for next meeting. It's already late, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Any other discussion from the board? Dr. Strickland?
I just want to appreciate the scenes from Till Next Time. I mean, that's a leader to have people come back for more.
You need a podcast.
It's marketing.
You need a
It's
podcast.
Yeah,
it's good. Dr. Trickett?
Thank you. Just wanted to state to the community, and to Danny, and to so many others that spoke about the start of the school year, our parents, our kids, our teachers, paraprofessionals, support staff members, bus drivers, custodians, how proud our team is of the last 3 weeks of school. The last 3 years have been very challenging. They've been difficult. We've had dissension. We've had, lots of different tasks before our team, including our staff, our teachers, our families, lots of decisions that had to be made. And people were hopeful for a better start to the school year. We all felt it, and I feel that this group, inclusive of the board up here in front of all of you tonight, was committed to make sure that we had a better start. And I'm proud to report that I think we had a great start. Seeing parents' faces at all the events that were discussed today, Todd brought up as well the orientation. There were no parking spots at any of our orientation programs, at any of our back-to-school nights. There were people that were there from all different disciplines. We had our first shift custodian from Green Valley who came back from Meet the Teacher night. That's a celebration. Again, it's indicative of the culture that we're trying to create in our school system. We're not perfect, right? And we talk about, at times, areas that we need to improve, and absolutely, I'll be the first one to say we are going to get better. We need to continue to define what excellence looks like. What is the standard? So the goals we outlined, we believe are the standard in helping us to move forward. When we stay focused on those pieces and dedicate our resources, our human and financial resources toward it, we will progress. We'll move forward. If we get distracted by things that perhaps we don't collectively believe in, I think that's when we're going to get fractured. So I challenge our community to make sure we stay focused. I challenge our kids to continue to share their voice through Danny. I challenge our staff, as one of our strategic focus areas is amplifying their voice starting tomorrow with the survey. Be honest with us. Don't tell us what you think we want to hear. Tell us your truth. And to Mike's part about, what the polls are saying in research, I appreciate all of that, but I want to know what our community is saying. What do our parents, our stakeholders, our taxpayers, what do they believe? What do they feel? Because ultimately, they're the customers that we serve. So I just want to thank our staff, our kids, for coming to school and attacking their studies and participating in clubs and co-curriculars, the kids who travel to watch the tennis matches and the football games that Danny talked about. And for those of you who aren't engaged in an event, I ask you to reach out to your student mentors, your colleagues, your peers, find something to connect to. I guarantee you it'll make your experience here more rich by having those experiences. So just wanted to say that as this is our first board meeting back after the start of the school year, and we're just really excited to continue this momentum that we feel that we've created.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I just want to say something, just what Chris just said about the schools and so forth. I did get a very good conversation, or I had a very good conversation with a parent that their daughter moved from one school to another in the redistricting, and I told her I thought everything would be fine, but when she called me last week and said it was better than great, it was fantastic, that child loves their new school, and I think sometimes the parents get a little bit more touchy than the children. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Any other discussion? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Meeting adjourned.